Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Beyond Politics. Today we have a very special show, and we're going to emphasize the word beyond in our politics name. Today I have Bo Micadelic, the comedian, and I also have Crystal, the psychic or the medium. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing good. I didn't want to cut in on him.
This is Crystal.
I was waiting for you. Look how the chivalry.
Gentlemen, I like that.
You know what I mean?
I do, yes.
Special, kind, and considerate to the women.
You can't see it, but I'm curtsying to you right now.
I'm tipping my cap with the middle finger, but it's a gesture.
I feel like this is turning to like on the phone sex conversation right now, and I curtsy to you.
Wow.
All
Conspiracy,
right.
yes.
And now I feel awkward.
Sorry for taking advantage of your other people. I'm sorry. I'll shut up now.
All is well.
Well, I think today.
Send me pics.
I think we're going to get started, and we're going to talk about several things today. But one of which is we're going to talk about some of the stigma around marijuana, and of course you have two psychics and a comedian on the line, so it's going to be a bit liberal. But I'll start us off. I feel like there's a conspiracy against marijuana, and the reason I think there's a conspiracy against marijuana is because it takes you to different frequencies. It takes you to a space where the veil is even more thin between you and other dimensions. And it's the same reason the U.S. government made LSD illegal in the, 60s, I think it finally became legal. I think they've been doing it for decades at that point. But they make this illegal so that you don't get to your higher ranking self. You don't get to go out into these, let's call them dimensions, to, manifest and dream and invent. People like Tesla and Einstein went to these dimensions. Whether they smoked reefer or not, I don't know. But this is where a lot of information is downloaded, and there's a lot of stigma. I mean, you guys saw the reefer madness posters back in the, 40s and 50s. Hey, don't let your wife smoke reefer. She'll leave you for a black jazz musician. That was a real poster. It's insane.
I don't know if they need a poster for it, but I'm sure they still say it in the country club.
They probably do. She left him for a musician. Oh, my God. He can barely make a living. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I don't know, man. If you're kind of square and not smoking pot, I'd leave you for someone else, too. I don't know.
Too square for me.
I'm right on with that. I feel like I belong in Reefer Madness. No, I'll leave it for a jazz musician. Yes, let's go.
Let's get funky. Yeah, no, it's better. It's a better existence than your, dishes every day and taking care of the kids and having a boring square white husband. Yeah,
exactly.
Totally.
It's fun, music, laughter, dancing, smoking. Hell yes, take me there.
So, why do you guys think the stigma's there?
Mm-hmm. In society, if it's throughout our society, as far back as we know it to be, and even before then, was it okay to use it? At what point in time was it not okay to use it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know those numbers, but that's a good thing to look at, because I've heard stories of like King Tut's tomb had marijuana in it, and I heard stories that Jesus himself would smoke the herb and what have you. So I don't know when we started using it. It must have been thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, but it became illegal, less than 100 years ago. So it was fine, and cultures used it up until, I can't remember when it went illegal. I'll have to get up and get on the Google and Google it, because I'm interested.
There was
I almost want to say like 30s or early 40s.
I think so.
Yeah, 1930s. Hash, there was somebody by the name, Joe Rogan said something, and he broke it down perfectly. Well, better than I can ever do it. But he said somebody by the name of like Hash or something along those lines that took it prohibition needed something else to go on other than alcohol, because alcohol wasn't working. They tried to shut alcohol down, it didn't work. So then they went after something else. and marijuana was that thing.
Because they couldn't have enough control with the alcohol being illegal. They had to go ahead and go after the herbs, too.
I could be wrong, but, I mean, it sounds like it makes sense to me.
Sounds good to me. We'll take it.
No,
1937. When was weed made illegal? 1937. Yeah, you were right around that Prohibition time there.
So, isn't that, is it just me? I don't know. I wish I was smarter.
You know, I think that what has happened is the government hasn't been able to tax the shit out of it until recently either. I think that part of the reason they're not interested in pushing marijuana or legalizing it across the board is because the pharmaceutical company would feel that hit, and God forbid billionaires only be millionaires.
So I have another question now that we're on this topic, because that kind of brings it into, like, my conspiracy. Like, when were narcotics, specifically opiates, started as a prescription? I think it was the 40s or 50s. And I think that's kind of why it became illegal. I think it's because the pharmaceutical companies are in the pockets of the government, and so they made this new drug to keep people pretty much hooked, because there's proof that all of these companies knew that it was an addictive drug, because of the morphine stuff that happened, I think in World War II or whatever. I don't know. I'm probably way off with that, but I think that that's what it was. I think that they wanted to control us in a different way, in which, once again, it can be monopolized and taxed differently. And so once we're hooked, they also have all of this other stuff. And jail systems, let's talk about that also. That's a money-making scheme for the government as well. And so,
they make money off jail?
Prisons.
Prison.
Really?
Yes. Oh, yes. That's why they have to, like, keep them, like, so full. And that's why there's so many stupid, frivolous people in there for absolutely no reason, because government funding. So, yeah, it's. I think it all has something to do with that, because the more drug addicts you have in jail systems, prison systems, or drug dealers, you know, that's where the money is. People are always going to want to escape because life is heavy. So we're going to want to take that down a notch with something in our systems and enlighten ourselves in ways that a lot of humans just don't seem to be able to open to. So why wouldn't they, I guess, is my question.
Listen to this, you guys. 1527, a Swiss-German alchemist, Paracelsus, I probably slaughtered that, had introduced the use of opium pills in medicine. Finally, in 1806, a German chemist, Frederick, blah, 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 isolated morphine from opium, named after the ancient Greek god of dreams, Morpheus. So it looks like, 1500s, we got some German alchemists messing around, and then, 300 years later, looks like we've got morphine available for people. And I do remember watching old Westerns and, like, old-timey movies, and they did have laudanum or morphine, or a lot of times they used alcohol, but I know for sure that they would have some opiate products. And I think they got real popular in the 1800s in San Francisco, because the Asian population had a lot of them, and they brought them over the seas when they came to work on the railroads and, moved to San Francisco, started a new life. So, yeah, interesting. Well, it looks like it's had a reign for a long time so far.
Yeah, well, I feel like opiates are one of those things that really help people. I don't know if any of you have ever done opiates before. I have. They do really.
Wait, opiates like what?
Well, I mean, I've only had Vicodin, so I mean that's as far. I'm not out on the street corner yet, but maybe someday.
So,
can aspire that.
I mean, some people like there's a spectrum, but okay, Vicodin. I mean, I don't even know the spectrum actually, because I don't fuck with it, so it's kind of awkward for me to even talk about it, guys, because I don't know, but I've witnessed a good number of people. I can't even say, not even a good number, a couple people go through that shit.
Yeah. So when you have trauma in your life, and some people, I can't say necessarily trauma, but I am going to say trauma based on my own clients, my own clientele, and people that I've channeled for that have had addiction issues. So I'm not speaking for everybody. I'm only speaking to the people I've actually talked to. I kind of think that everybody who gets started on those is somebody who and has an addiction to them, I guess I should say, because people who just take them randomly and then stop. But when they get into addiction, that all is stemming from some sort of trauma that happened because it's a release of the feelings of guilt, trauma, not being able to fit in. There's always something associated with each and every one of those people that I've channeled. I've never channeled for somebody who said, hey, I was completely perfect. I had no problems, and it just was fucking awesome.
Right, just became a heroin addict overnight for no goddamn good reason.
Yeah. So there's always trauma associated with it somehow.
I just did it for a goof.
Yeah.
Oops, slipped into heroinism.
So I don't know. It's super sad to see people go down that road. But at the same time, I'm like, ugh. It's just, I don't know. I feel like there are different levels of drugs. And Jenny can kind of say what she wants to. But I feel like there's different levels of.
Jenny does a lot of them.
If it were the 90s.
Higher and lower vibrations or frequencies,
it's true.
I guess.
It's true. Like marijuana is going to have a different frequency than somebody who pounded a half a bottle of whiskey. It's just a different frequency. It's going to have a different frequency than someone who's using cocaine. It's going to have a different frequency than someone who has a heroin problem. And not.
It all sounds fun so far.
Mix it all together. Woo! It's a party. Sounds like me at a rave. I'm like, ooh, what can I get my hands on? Oh, a little of this, a little of that. But no, yeah, definitely. I definitely agree that certain drugs have a different frequency. In fact, I don't think marijuana should be considered a drug. I think controlled substances like nicotine, caffeine, sugar, heroin, any opiates in general, alcohol. I think those are drugs.
We're talking about like marijuana. The concept even to this day. As long as I can remember back, how is this something that is illegal? It is a plant. At what point in time did it get to a point where, like no, God made a mistake.
God made a mistake.
We got to correct God's mistake, and we have to shut this down. And the people that do benefit from it are criminals.
It's crazy. Well, yeah, it's just their control space, and they don't get any tax money from it, and they really like keeping it illegal because, like Crystal said, let's fill up those prisons with drug users. Yay! They're not too violent. They're not too angry. They know they're going to get out in a certain amount of time. They're good little tenants or whatever you want to call them. So, I think it's all a sham. I think I hear a little doggy in the background. A little squeaky toy. It's so cute.
I'm so sorry.
It's cool.
It's like, oh, Mom's on the phone. Let's start attacking her now. So that's exactly what's happening.
So is it just common knowledge that 9/11 was an inside job?
I feel like it should be at this point. I don't know. Who hasn't seen the 911 videos? I mean, it looks...
Are you getting bitten as a squeaky toy? Because it sounds like you're the one
I'm taking the squeaky toy. It has been taken.
It's because you got like a miniature voice, and it sounds like it's possible that the dog is just like chomping on you or your foot. And your foot is the squeaky shit.
No.
Crystal is kind of a fairy, so close to a squeaky toy. But I think it's so funny because one time Crystal told me, Jenny, you've got such a nice voice. I sound like a drunk toddler. And it's so funny that he said you had such a small voice, and it reminded me of what you said about being a drunk toddler. I was like, that's hilarious.
I mean, you do sound like a fairy.
I
mean, not like a gay dude, but
no, like with the wings, like Tinkerbell.
More of like a Tinkerbell type shit.
Crystal,
Crystal, like a cross dresser, but
not like one of them letters, but as an actual like esoteric little wing flapping whatever.
Flapping thing. You have to. I don't know if Crystal wants to talk about it, but for Halloween we had a special show, and Crystal called in and told us the most scary story in the world